Hello, my pookiest of pies. Oh, hold on. I can't hear you. Check your mic real quick. I can't hear you, pal. Can you hear me? It's not on, is it? You're such a dingus. I love it.
Ruggy. Can you hear me now?
That's so good. I love it. Yes, I can hear
Wow.
you now. It's so good.
In the words of the great Erica Axtell, wow, that's really embarrassing for me.
That's really embarrassing for you. Welcome back to your favorite podcast, everybody. It's Boomer and Junior. My name's Boomer.
And I'm Junior.
Welcome back, folks. It's another day. It's another day where Zach and I talk sports collegiately. We're going to say some stuff on this pod that doesn't make sense, but you already know that. If I sound like death, it's because I've just been told by the doctor that I have a case of acute bronchitis. And so, apologies in advance if I sound like I'm about to fall off the face of the earth and die. What's up with you, Zach?
Well, Nick, I heard that the doctor said you have acute bronchitis. It's because you are, in fact, a QD.
Thank you,
Just
Zachary.
saying. I had to get that one in there. But anyways, I'm I'm doing
I
great.
did, in fact,
I am.
I did in fact make that joke with my girlfriend this morning, and she did in fact roll her eyes at me. But go on.
Hey, as you should make that joke, and she should
Yeah.
have been laughing her butt off because that's
There we go.
hilarious.
There we go. That's good. That's
um,
good.
Yeah, I'm doing good though. I am not sick, and I am in Hawaii, so kind of two things going for me there, right there. Not to flex
One
on you
might
too hard,
say,
but
one might say you're feeling rather sick. All right. All right.
yeah. Oh
Go
yeah, I'm
on.
doing good.
How is
Good.
Hawaii? What are you guys up to? What have you done so far?
It's good. Yeah, I did a little bit of hiking. Went surfing. Just got back right before this recording to do. Did some surfing, which was good. I'm actually cooking some Hawaiian food for dinner tonight too. Some garlic furikake chicken. So that'll be fun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
let
it's like
this
a
white boy cook.
sweet
Let
garlic
this
sauce
white
and
boy
stuff. Yeah.
cook.
Let this white boy cook. Anyways, yeah,
That's
Nick, other than being sick, how are things going for you?
Things are good, pal. Went on a little cabin trip this past weekend. Got 3 days away from like the internet, and like honestly, like I had no cell service out there. For those listening, check out Wimberley, Texas. It's this little town in Hill Country, Texas. It's about an hour south of Austin. Um, I had a couple nights that were gonna expire from Marriott, and then this cool property out there, and so went out for a couple nights, checked it out. Um, Dude, the coolest part about Central Texas is that they have almost no street lamps, and like as a result, there's so much less like light pollution in the air.
Oh,
Um,
uh-huh.
no matter like pretty much anywhere in Central Texas, if you look up, you can see the stars. And we got to the cabin like Sunday night last week and looked up, and it was just breathtaking, like all the stars up in the sky. Um, got to disconnect, like checked out some wineries, checked out a brewery, ate some really cool
Ooh,
food, but also just like spent some really good time with good people. And so yeah, it was a good time. Came
that's
back home
awesome.
with
Yeah, it sounds really nice.
came back home and got back to work, which was sad. But I mean, I'm doing good. Saw some interesting basketball this past week, good and bad, and so happy to talk through that here in the next few minutes. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no, it
man.
sounds like a good time. Good to use up those hotel points too. A lot of people who listen to this podcast are aware of our love of hotel points and reward points in general. So
Yeah,
everybody's
we're
gonna love
gonna be
that
doing.
one.
Yeah, dude, I just realized we're probably gonna have, for those listening, Zach and I are going to Spain. Fun fact in May,
Mhm.
and we're actually going to Montana here in a couple of weeks on our annual boys trip. But that means we're gonna have two episodes on the road, probably one from like Montana, but one from abroad. And so, like, stay tuned for that. So that ought to be fun. Okay, that ought to be fun. All right.
Absolutely.
On that note, let's kick things off, shall we? Let's get into our recap. Let's check out some of the amazing football or bad football, some of the amazing basketball that we saw this past week. Zachy
Yeah,
boy,
you're
kick
off
us off,
about
buddy.
6 months there, Nikki.
I'm off about.
but
I'm just that desperate for football to kick back up. But yes,
oh, we just hit March. We're recording on March 1st.
They are indeed.
We can smell it. We can smell conference tournaments in the air. We can smell March Madness in the air. And that's exactly what we had in a bit of a Final Four potential preview in what I thought was a wonderful result of Duke upsetting number 1 Michigan,
Oh
68
yeah.
to 63. That's number 3 Duke. Very few teams in the world that I will root for Duke to beat, but that is one of them, especially when Michigan is actually playing fairly well. So
Scary
yeah,
good.
shout out to John Shire and company for that one. Yeah, Michigan finally picks up another loss. Still only one loss in conference play, but they got an out of conference loss now. Yaxel Lendenborg leading the charge for Michigan, had 21 points, but clearly not enough. Fairly low scoring affair here, neither team breaking 70. And Cameron Boozer on the other side, amazing performance as we've grown accustomed to see. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. He seems like he would have to try to not fill up the stat sheet, honestly, at this point, because he just cannot help but light it up.
Dude.
And little more commentary on that. I, as well as pretty much every sane person, thought Cam Boozer had a wonderful performance, did very well. Yaxel Lendenborg, though, cocky little bum, seemed to have other thoughts on that. In the post game presser, some reporter asked, what they thought about Cam Boozer's performance. What it was like trying to match
Classless.
up versus him, or for him compared to other players, considering Cam Boozer is one of the top players in the country. Yaxel Lendenborg, I think, asked to for them to repeat the question and just laugh. He didn't even give an answer. He just laughed at the question.
Just classless,
And
man.
then he had to have one of his teammates then reply, say something about him being well, and they got to prepare well for every opponent they face. But obviously this Cam Boozer gave them some serious work. Axel Lendenborg is quite the character. I have no reason to like him,
But
but
then
I'm
again,
also
like
biased.
you don't really expect something different from this guy, right? Like
No.
I hate that it's built in with the institution. I hate that it's built in with the program itself. But it's like, and he's been doing the same thing for other teams as well. Like obviously Purdue has not had the greatest years as they anticipated, but he also like completely dissed them like
Mm-hmm.
before Michigan played Purdue on the road.
In a rather
Um,
vulgar way that went viral before that
very
game. Yeah.
extremely vulgar, extremely disrespectful, right? And like not to be the old fart, but like I kind of blame NIL for giving these kids such a like podium and such an attitude to be able to say this stuff, right? Um, Gets to their head, it makes them think they're invincible, and they say stuff like this and do stuff like this. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Yaxel,
didn't this guy play for University of Alabama, Birmingham last year or something like
yeah,
that? He came in from some pretty small school.
yeah, and like it is what it is, man. Like I'm hoping they get stuffed in the tournament, but honestly, this team is so good, it's scary, man. The good guys
And
might
when
end up
they're on,
not
they're
winning
on.
after all. It
Mm-hmm.
might be a case of the bad guys winning this year, but oh well.
Let's see.
All right, man. Yeah, another game. We're moving into Big 12. We had a big top five matchup this time. We had number 4 Arizona going in to play number 2 Houston and taking the win on the road, 73 to 66. There's some things to talk about in this game. All right, obviously a big, high octane offenses on both sides, especially Arizona. Key player to talk about is Anthony Delorso on the bench for the Wildcats, highest scoring for the Wildcats with 22 points. Um, shout out to Houston's Chris Cenac Jr. with 12 assists in the loss, man. Um, like this was going to be a shootout game. This is going to be a shootout game. There was obvious. I didn't think I had a favorite. Like Arizona's been going through a bit of a rough patch. Houston is up on the rise since losing a few games, but like they're pretty neck and neck if I'm being honest with you. And not surprised that Arizona's a great team on the road, which is like really weird to say, but they can go in. I mean, they beat UConn in New York. Was it in New York or was it in Connecticut? No, it was in Connecticut. It was in
I don't recall,
Connecticut.
but yeah, it was
Arizona
effectively a home game for UConn. Yeah.
Arizona went into Connecticut and beat
Mm.
UConn at like on the road. And if there's any team that I don't want to play like being the home team, it arguably would be Arizona. Uh, Scary good on the offense. Yeah, it just shows they've got guys. Their depth is insane. All across the board, it's just wild to see how good their talented roster is. Man, it's nuts.
Yeah, Tommy Lloyd's really got that team coached up. That's another team like Michigan seems like they just really difficult to knock off in pretty much any capacity. we'll see if his European loaded roster is able to get it done. Maybe get a national championship over there to Tucson.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. Staying, I guess, kind of in that general region of the country, more southwest there, but different conference. We had the number 10 Illinois Fighting Illini on the road at UCLA. Illinois took a W at USC before this in their usual SoCal Big Ten road trip, because what says Big Ten like Los Angeles?
Right.
um,
Right.
but yeah, then played at UCLA, who isn't currently ranked, I believe.
Nope.
But who's flirted with the rankings this year. They were, I know, as high as at least 15 at one point and were ranked multiple weeks, but had some struggles, especially on the road. However, in this case, Illinois was up 94-93 with just a few seconds left on the clock. And transfer from New Mexico, Donovan Dent, the point guard, able to go the entire length of the court, break down the Illini defense, and get a layup as time expired for the game winner and power the Bruins to the victory. I was really big time stuff. I think he'd been kind of underwhelming though so far. Donovan Dent had a lot of fanfare around him, almost as much as Yaxel Lendenborg going into the season. And Yaxel Lendenborg has definitely lived up to the hype. But Donovan Dent has been a little quieter about things, but good to see him get a really big moment there at UCLA.
Something about playing on the road at UCLA, man, and losing by like 1 to 2 points. Like Purdue lost by
Mm-hmm.
2. Illinois now losing by 1, and it's like this one might have just been a sheer stroke of luck. Like having like being able to get across the length of the court and being able to get that shot to land, impressive. All right. Um, yeah, I don't know where that leaves the Illini. I think this you kind of brush this off kind of well, but like, I mean, yeah, it goes back to the man, these trips out west are really hurting teams both ways. Both ways, all right? Like
Mm-hmm.
trips out west, but also trips out east, man. Can you imagine? Like UCLA played Penn State this past year in football, right? Not to change sports, but like, oh wait, no, but it was in LA. Never mind. But like, obviously that was the game that Penn State lost, right? And so, regardless, we brought up this narrative over and over again of like, why the heck are the conferences changing? Oh well, Illinois take the loss. Sorry, Mrs. Simmons. Um, go on, Zachy.
No, no, that's just funny. You shouted out my mom, the Illini grad. Yeah, she.
I know that because I
Yeah.
once on this podcast uh, took a dump on Illinois, and I got a text message or something from your mom. I'm never gonna have that. I'm never gonna forget that.
Never
Uh,
forgetting again. Yeah.
all right, guys, let's talk Boilers.
Wouldn't be
Couple
a
games.
Boomer Junior without you talking about the Boilermakers, would it?
That's fair, wouldn't? Let's talk Boilers. We've actually got 3 games. I'm gonna be covering 2 of them because our third one falls into Purdue. Falls into Michigan State because Purdue played Michigan State this past week. So I'm gonna cover just the games that they played that weren't Michigan State. All right, let's talk about the famous Indiana weekend that we got up in West Lafayette. The Hoosiers came into town last Friday, and holy did Purdue demolish the Hoosiers last week. Indiana losing 64-93 to number 7 Purdue. Let's talk about this. 4 players on Purdue had 15 plus points each. All right. I think if I remember, it was TKR, Clough. No, it wasn't Clough. It was Braden, and it might have been Fletcher. But yeah. And the fourth guy being Omer Mayer, freshman point guard off the bench with a career high 18 points. All right. And there was clear hunger in this. Like I think I watched this game and I thought they carry the same hunger over into the next 2 games, but clearly wasn't the case. Um, but it was evident that they have the potential to be hungry and be aggressive and take on teams where they're at. Granted, Indiana is not the strongest team in basketball these days, but still, um, yeah, complete demolition. There was one point, like there was they put in the walk-ins with like a minute and like 50 seconds left in the game. Um, yeah, no, dominating game. Zach, you got thoughts?
Always a good one when the walk-ons show up. Yeah,
Always a good one.
Purdue. Or I think IU won the matchup in Bloomington earlier this
In
year, right? So
Bloomington,
this was
yeah.
Purdue definitely getting their get back. This was good for that, notable senior class of Fletcher, Braden, TKR
TKR.
to get their final IU win, unless they obviously meet up in the Big Ten tournament, but that's unlikely.
True.
So that was really good to see for them, kind of a good send off, and yeah, doing it in dominating fashion.
Yeah, I was happy to see Omer Mayer get some, like he was landing shots, landing threes left and right. This kid's
Mhm.
got a lot of potential. They're talking about this kid like he's going to be the next Braden Smith, but we'll see.
He's got some talent. He's definitely, you can tell he's a freshman. I don't want to jump in too much into the Michigan State game, but I watched that game and saw him in it a bit. There were some times he'd be like driving downhill and he's like, ducking his head down and just like, really going full force, which can be great at times, but maybe a little out of control at others. But the I think he needs to, develop a little more control, but I think he will do that. And it's likely going to be
Yeah,
a heck of a player, probably getting his sophomore jump after having 1 year to develop and play.
yeah, he got brought in to be Braden's replacement. Like that was the
Mm-hmm.
whole objective. He's 18. He's a true freshman, right? So yeah, I think I'm hoping with a little bit of development they get to clean out like rough like smooth out the rough edges, And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Yeah. And good to have him there while Braden's still there for a year, learn a bit from the best
to
and
learn from
develop.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nuts,
Mm-hmm.
man. Next thing I want to talk about real quick is actually happened today and did not expect the end result. Number 8 Purdue going into Columbus, Ohio to play unranked Ohio State, mind you, losing 74-82. It really just can't get worse than this. Like I didn't even watch this game because I didn't. I was like, this is gonna be a win. Um, we just talked about Omer and how he had 18 against Indiana, but he had 11. I'm sorry, he had 0 points in 11 minutes. Coming off the bench for the Boilers. The reason I brought that up is because that's a lot of time to eat with no generation right there. Um, Buckeyes, John Mobley Jr. had 21 points off of the bench. Like, look on the flip side, right? Yeah, this Ohio State team really caught Purdue right when they're not having the greatest moment and capitalized on it. Coming off of a Michigan State L, and then now, um, you know, they're kind of in a weird spot. If I'm being honest with you, like Zach and I were talking about this before the pod, but it's like this team just looks so defeated. They look defeated. They look like they have no gas left in the tank, and they just look like they have no idea where to go from here. I've always been a guy that believes in Matt Painter. Don't get me wrong, but it's also like where do we go from here, and how do we correct the ship, if that makes sense. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of where my head's at, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's a little tough to see. I think part of it too is the really ballooned preseason expectations, which I don't think were completely warranted. I mean, I think Purdue was going to be a good squad. I think they've been underperforming how I thought they would do this year. I thought Purdue was going to be. I mean, they're still having a great season. They were number
yeah.
8. Technically still number 8. They'll probably fall a little bit after losing
Drop.
both their games this week. They're still having a decent enough season though. However, just the preseason number 1 mark was definitely a bit inflated, and I expect hopefully they're able to kind of adjust expectations, maybe try to live up to that number 1 potential come tournament time. But yeah, I don't know, kind of unfortunate, underwhelming, and anticlimactic end for Braden Smith's career. But
Yeah,
maybe they
I
can
think
spark it in March.
maybe March. I think they're probably just gonna they just need a little bit of time away. I think from
Mm-hmm.
basketball and like to regroup themselves.
Yeah.
Hoping for a deep Big Ten tournament run. We'll see how it goes. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'd be curious to see, if they got some more pop to them in the Big Ten tournament, that might be a little more promising come March Madness time.
yeah, go Boilers.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the final Purdue matchup, and we'll sling that over to me because it involved the Michigan State victory. Sorry to hear that, Nick.
That's all right. Good, dude.
But
It's
yeah,
all
this
good.
was this was in Mackey Arena. The number 13 Michigan State Spartans winning 76-74 over the number 8 Boilermakers. Battle the top 2 point guards in the country. We talked about that going into this one. That was a really exciting matchup to see, and
Yeah,
honestly, just general high level evaluation of this game, this was 2 teams playing very high level basketball.
very
I
good
thought this was a
basketball.
very great performance from both teams, offensive and defensive end. Obviously, there were errors, there were mistakes,
Yeah,
but overall, there's just some good shot making, tough buckets, good passing, good defense. It was a very enjoyable game to watch. And if you were a neutral observer, I'm sure you had a great time, especially with how tight it was throughout.
it was
Uh,
exciting. It was
mm-hmm,
exciting. It was a good game of basketball.
yeah. Absolutely. On the Boilermaker side of things, you had TKR with 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists, which was a little bit of a surprise for him, but filling up the stat sheet, which is not unusual for him. Braden Smith, 12 points, 10 assists. Did have 4 turnovers, though, in that one. So, did end up leading Michigan State's Jeremy Fears, who had 12 points and 6 assists. Smith had more assists on the game. However, Fears' 1 turnover to Smith's 4 turnovers kind of balances out a little bit. Fairly equal performances then. Uh, Also on the Michigan State side of things, Carson Cooper continuing to prove that he is Izzo's best development project yet, with 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist. And then Kur Tang, the shooting guard, with 13 points off the bench. This, like I said, great team effort from both teams in this one. And we'll see. This is definitely big for Michigan State, getting a big quality road win. And we'll see if Purdue
Huge.
is able to bounce back after losing yet another big game in Mackey this year.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to wipe this season away or keep drilling down. I have no idea. I think that's a Matt Painter question. But yeah, I think this was a great game. It was so fun to watch. Um, there was a lot of back and forth. I think in terms of like momentum, and I think right at the end there, Purdue had a shot to take over, and they lost it on a Braden Smith 3-point shot that didn't go in. But why are we giving Braden the shot? Like, why are we not giving it to Fletch, or why are we not giving it to our
Oh,
actual 3-point shooters? You know what I mean?
I actually that's actually I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot to mention that. That play was very interesting. It
Very
seemed like they
interesting.
were trying to maybe get it down low to TKR, but they just didn't have a good backup plan, I guess, because Michigan State was able to kind of block it out pretty well.
Yeah,
I think I'm good with. I would want Braden or TKR taking that shot. I think, but you got to give some type of screen action or something to help Braden open up instead of like shooting, just chucking up an off balance NBA range 3-pointer as time
yeah.
expires. You got to find a better look than that. Matt Painter has to do better drawing up the X's and O's there to get his guys to look.
I agree. Better screening would have helped at least create some separation for Braden to make
Mm-hmm.
that shot.
Yeah.
He's a good 3-point shooter. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a defined 3-point shooter, right? Like he's definitely your mid range guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I at the end of the day, he's not the worst guy to take that shot, but he wouldn't have been my first choice. I want to put that in the hands of like Fletcher Lawyer. Jack Benther was having a night on 3-pointers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Benter,
That
he's
kid
been
was
a guy that's
scary.
kind of like he is like dude like Jack Benter early in the season had a starting spot and was one of the better 3-point shooters, and then midway through the season lost his starting spot to CJ Cox, and then and then you see him got like the last 2 or 3 games he's had minutes like that where like you come in and you'll like absolutely tear down from the 3-point line. He had some deep range shots that he made. And so I would have liked to have that shot in one of those guys' hands. But oh well, it is what it is. We keep moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In addition, Michigan State hosted Ohio State this past week, or actually, I guess it was a little over a week ago. Bruce Thornton for the Buckeyes, to no one's surprise, showed out in this one. Had 32 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists,
Absolutely.
and 2 steals in a phenomenal, heroic effort. Over half of his team's points in what was unfortunately a loss. A lot, fortunately for them, fortunate for me. Michigan State won 66 to 60. He had 32 of those 60 points. Very impressive. Yeah, I mean, Michigan State was doing what they could to slow him down, and Jordan Scott had some good time on him and stuff, but clearly he was just getting his own, though. Trying to will his team to victory, but just not quite able to. And then on the Michigan State side of things, the Twin Towers, Carson Cooper and Jackson Kohler, the seniors. Cooper had yet another phenomenal game, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and Kohler not getting a double double. However, he did have 10 rebounds in the effort and had 9 points as well to go with it. And then, of course, my sweet glorious king, Jeremy Fears, 11 points, 8 assists. Just usual. Actually, that's not even usual things. That's unusual things. Those are below his average for both points and assists. So, Jeremy, get your act together.
So good, man. I
Yeah.
I mean, something about Ohio State, man. They're every now and then, every now and then they have years where they're like thorns in the side of Big Ten
Mm-hmm.
giants, and obviously they did it to Purdue, but you got guys like Bruce Thornton dropping half the points for the team, right? Um, I I was gonna say, do you know if they got a winning record this year? Like, are they on a winning
I
record
don't
this
think
year?
so. No, and I'm pretty sure
Okay, I
Jay
was gonna
Giebler
say.
is going to get fired at the end of the season.
Oof.
Their head
Okay.
coach.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah, he's had a
Um.
couple rough years in a row, and he kind of it was weird how he ascended to the title too, because it was when they fired Chris Holtman, I think, I don't know, their former head coach, and he rose up as interim, and then they just kept him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 18-11 on the season as a whole, and
That's
in
not
the
bad.
Big Ten, they have a losing record.
Oh, tough. Okay. Never mind then. I was gonna say because I think they're looking in. They're like one of the first four out. I think for the tournament, but I think this win against Purdue might have pushed them back in. Um. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ohio
Oh,
State's
my
always like a
apologies.
fringe team.
They are not. They're 10-8 in the Big Ten tournament. I misread the standings there. They're 10-8.
Oh
So
shoot.
that's
They
crazy.
might be in. They might be in the tournament now with this. Like it just depends on how they do in the Big Ten tournament, I
Yeah.
think. But yeah.
For sure.
All right. All right, we're gonna move it out of the Big Ten, move it out of Michigan State, Purdue, folks. We're gonna go back out east. We're gonna talk about number 15 St. John's playing number 6 University of Connecticut Huskies. This was not pretty if you're a St. John's fan. UConn winning 72-40. I'm sorry, but if a team loses by if a team has scored less than 50 points the entirety of the game, and they're a top 15 team. That is disgraceful. All right, how do you not put up 50 points? Like that is crazy. Guys, the highest scoring starter for St. John's was Josen Sannon with 10 points. I don't think I've seen a starter like score that little in a very long time. Of course, you're gonna make the Dan Hurley jokes, blah blah, or you're gonna make the argument that Dan Hurley is like, he's coached up a team and this and that and whatever. But like, I mean, the St. John's team had been building up some momentum, and so to see them lose that bad is kind of I think it's a reality check. If I'm being honest with you, if you put St. John's up against like the big guys, quote unquote, and so yeah, I don't think they're
Well,
part of the
that's
big guys. Yeah,
well, that's the thing is, these two teams played in Madison Square Garden like a month or so ago, and St. John's actually won that game, which
yep,
was big. I was like, oh, St. John's is back because they were ranked. I think they were ranked number 5 to start the year and kind
they're
of
high.
fell off the face of the earth for a while, but then they crept back into the rankings, slowly working back up. Like you said, building some momentum, and then this was like Dan Hurley wreaking havoc and showing his putting his full wrath in there.
That's valid.
Just no mercy here for Rick Pitino and company.
That's like a classic Dan Hurley move, right? Like you embarrassed me once, shame on me. You won't like not to quote J. Cole, but still, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, F the peace sign. Hold the chopper, let it rain on. Yeah. I think that's pretty fair
Not
in
Nick
this
actually
case.
quoting J. Cole.
Hey, one of the goats. One of the goats. But yeah, great win by UConn. I think you Huskies just keep climbing. They keep doing their thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're bouncing back, getting that mojo back. Dan Hurley in March is not a guy I want to see. So
Heck no, dude. Heck no. That is not someone I want to be looking at.
another highly ranked team getting knocked off, way higher ranked though. And that was number 5 Houston losing to Kansas 69-56. Kansas getting the victory there at home in Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Honestly, bigger surprise here than the outcome of the game was that Darren Peterson played 30 minutes. Wow, I didn't even know that was
Crazy.
possible. Yeah,
Crazy.
no, it was good to see he's getting back out there. I think maybe he's hearing some of the critics and stuff on some of the issues and maybe lack of dedication that is becoming apparent. And so I think he's going to be putting that to bed a little bit by putting in a pretty strong effort. He was one of the top minutes giving players for the team. So good on him for that. Put up 14 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist. Not a crazy stat line, but fair enough though. You're playing
Yeah.
against a really good defensive squad in Houston, so it's understandable you're not going to go too crazy. But yeah, big win there. They had 4 starters in double digits, and Flory Badunga with the double double in that one. Usual things for him, getting those points and boards. And then conversely, on the Houston side of things, only starter in double digits was Kingston Flemings, the talented freshman with 16 points. Kind of had this happen other times this year, him trying to will them to victory, but just not able to do it himself. He's boosting his draft stock, though. I'm sure he'll be gone after this year. He's gonna get a nice payday come June when the NBA draft strikes. So good for that kid.
Yeah. Houston, like they just keep dropping games, dude. And yeah, big shock was Darren Peterson. He had some interesting comments that he made after the game of like the draft and like also him playing, like his ability to play was something that he talked about. And I was just very like, this just sounds really pretentious. This sounds like a guy that barely wants to play and but also still wants to be the number one pick in the draft. Um, Shout out Kansas for getting some minutes out of this guy, I guess. But yeah, we move. We're gonna keep in the Big 12. We had number 16 Texas Tech go on the road to play number 4 Iowa State and win 82-73. Guys, no JT Toppin, no problem. Raiders get the job done. Um, that's huge. You and I talked about it
Mm-hmm.
last time on the pod. We just flat out like called Texas
Yeah,
Tech to start to sail off into the sunset.
yeah. I
Um,
wrote them off. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like no JT Toppin, no problem. 6 players on Tech scored 10 plus points. 2 of those guys were on the bench. But credit where credit's due. Iowa State, you had 2 guys making up for over half the points. Momchilovich and Jefferson for the Cyclones dropping 20 and 22 respectively. You see some big names just keep dropping points week after week. Milan Momchilovich is one of those guys. He just is that dog. And like come March, I don't want to play Iowa State. I wouldn't want to play Iowa State in March when it's lights out for all gas, no breaks. Momchilovich is the kind of guy that will like literally drop a 30 bag on your team like every weekend. Um, yeah, I was a little surprised. No JT Toppin. This slowed the offensive production. Very shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, goes to show goes to show the effect of recruiting, man. Goes to show if you've got dogs on your team that they will still put down points. And so I guess we just still keep Texas Tech in the running for something. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very unpredictable. Don't know the future state of this team, but oh well.
Yeah, that was impressive and very huge for them. I mean, that's also going to be big for like NCAA tournament seeding and stuff that they could pull off a road top 5 upset like this. Because I'm sure the tournament committee too is like, oh yeah, well, they don't have their All American player. Not that the rest of the Texas Tech team is a bunch of bums, unlike Michigan.
No, no shot.
uh, but yeah, not that the rest of them are a bunch of bums or anything like that. But when you're missing your best player, who's an All American, it's understandable you're just not going to be able to do as much. But if you're able to still get a top 5 road win without your best player, you clearly got a heck of a thing going on for your team. And so that is huge for them long term and just confidence for themselves too, I'm sure. I think Iowa State's still, a very high
Oh
ceiling,
yeah.
but kind of low floor team. I do think part of this was Iowa State maybe not playing up to their potential. And I could see Iowa State maybe getting an early bounce come tournament time or making a really deep run to the Final Four. I think they've got very big boom or bust
Yeah.
potential. I don't think they're quite as got that dog in them as like a UConn that's going to be harder to just
Or
kind
in
of straight up
Arizona.
face up against and knock off. Um, but yeah, good win for Texas Tech. Iowa State's still looking fine, but huge win for the Red Raiders.
I concur. Yeah, good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For our final game that we'll recap, we got an SEC matchup, and I say matchup, but really it's more of a slaughter as I think
That was
number
ugly.
7 ranked Florida Gators
Yeah.
abused the Arkansas Razorbacks, ranked number 20, 111-77. That's right, 111-77. Now, my quick
In
mental math tells me
regulation.
that's a 34-point victory right there in SEC regular season play is crazy. Granted, it was at Florida, no home cooking for Arkansas, whatever. But still, John Calipari's squad giving up 111 points in
Embarrassed.
regulation is
Dude.
crazy. Yeah,
Dude.
it's
Dude, embarrassing. Yeah, embarrassing.
mhm,
Yeah.
truly, yeah. Of
Mm-hmm.
the Florida starters, the lowest scoring player was only had 12 points. Only had 12 points. I mean, I know,
Mm.
very impressive stuff there all around. And with that one, they, big win, and as it should be, because it marked a big milestone on the season. That was that they clinched the SEC regular season championship as well as the first seed in the SEC tournament. So a team that looked a little shaky to start the year, they lost on a neutral site to Arizona, I think, Arizona or BYU, and then lost
Yeah.
at Cameron Indoor to Duke. Has turned it around and is looking like a serious title contender here.
Yeah. Yeah, they've probably had the craziest whip around of all the teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
They were unranked at one point, and now they're back in the
Mm-hmm.
top 10, looking dominant and scary, looking like they want to repeat what they did last year, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think they've got the same firepower as they did last year, but then again, they're bodying and throwing around teams like Arkansas like they did today, all right?
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me a John Calipari coached Arkansas team gave up 111 in regulation? I thought I was tweaking when I saw this. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what this means for Arkansas. They just keep kind of building up momentum and they keep losing it, right? And so, um, I could see them being like around a 32 team, maybe getting bounced out then, maybe, but oh well. Our last bit to recap basketball this week, folks, is actually some news out of the Big Ten that broke today. USC star scorer Chad Baker-Mazara has been officially. It's like the team came out and said that he's no longer with the team. Sat down voluntarily on Saturday after telling his coach he could not go back in, and he didn't sit down with the rest of his teammates. He sat down with the fans away from the team. This as of today ends his tumultuous career where he had 5 different stops in college. This dude is 26 years old. I'm 26. I've been out of college for 4 years. That is crazy. This dude bounced around from coast to coast, playing for all kinds of schools. All right, but somehow landed at USC this year after 2 seasons at Auburn. Don't get me wrong, kid's a bucket, but also has crazy attitude issues. And so I'm not shocked that the team just said, we're done. We don't want to put up with this anymore. This is going to tank his draft stock. But I mean, honestly, it doesn't take much to get drafted anymore. So who knows?
Yeah, I remember when USC played Michigan State this year. It sounded like there was some issues between him and Eric Musselman and the coaching staff there. Um, yeah, this kid does not seem to be like a good fit for this program. He was on that Auburn Final Four team last season, led by Janai Broome and Bruce Pearl. But yeah, clearly not working out with the Trojans in Los Angeles. Nick, I don't even know if this kid's getting drafted. He's 26 years old. I feel
He's
like a lot
old,
of guys
dude.
kind of flame out from the NBA at that point. If he can't, I mean, he should be putting up some seriously crazy stats if he can get drafted at 26 years old. I don't even know if he's going to sniff the G. He'll probably sniff the G League, but I don't
Yeah.
think he's going to be doing or Summer League rather. But I don't think he's going to make the G League even. I think he'll end up playing overseas. Probably do a Dwight Howard esque thing, play for the whatever Sharks in Taiwan. And
Shanghai, Taiwan. Yeah. I saw this bit that was like, now Baker Mazar has to decide between McDonald's or Burger King for his next employer.
I mean, that's probably what he's qualified for. If you're transferring colleges every year, you can't really earn a degree. So,
Dude, I can't, bro. That's a whole thing.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's some big news out of the Big Ten. Shakes things up definitely for the Big Ten tournament, but also like has implications down the stretch for March Madness. So we'll see how this affects the Trojans going ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fight on.
Well, that wraps up our news from the past week. So we'll go ahead and dive into our next segment, which, as usual, is our Boomer's Bold Take. So, Boomer, go ahead, hit us with it. What's your bold take?
All right, guys. Bold take this week is around my Boilers. All right, and my bold take is I'd be shocked if this team makes it past the round of 32. One might say I'm being a little dramatic. That's okay. That's part of my bit. That's part of my joke. It's part of my MO, if I'm being honest. I am also probably the most dramatic person you're ever going to meet if you ever meet me. Let's talk about this. Let's break this down, shall we? There's been such a crazy momentum loss in this team. I've never seen this before, and I've been watching this team for years. There's just a lot, and it's notable when this was brought up by Robbie Hummel the other day when Purdue played Michigan State. But one of the biggest things plaguing Purdue this year is inconsistent playmakers. Fletcher Lawyer's inconsistency this year has been just such a big day, like night or day shift between how this team performs. I've talked about it for months. I've probably talked about it just outside of this podcast for years, how inconsistent this dude is. One night he's the greatest shooter in America, Mackey. The next night on the road, he just can't put a bucket if there was, his life was dependent on it. So there's that. There's other guys, big guys that haven't really like played off, right? Like Oscar Clough has not been as, you know, point generating as we initially thought. Daniel Jacobson has not lived up to his ceiling after he got injured last year. Just a lot of these inconsistent players. Um, and ever since we started taking L's against Iowa State, Illinois, we just like can't seem to find our groove again, especially down the stretch. Michigan too, and so it's like we take these L's, we bounce back temporarily, but just can't find a good permanent groove. And I've said this a lot. You can't put it on the back of like Braden Smith. He is arguably the best point guard in America, but like he's just one guy going up against five other guys on the other team, right? You got to have guys. It's the same reason why we lost the national championship 2 years ago against UConn, right? You had two guys. You had Braden Smith and you had Zach freaking Edey. Zach Edey dropped 37 points that night, the night of the championship. But we lost because no one else around them could score a bucket for their lives. Anyway, I'm all heated about this because we've lost games this year that we should not have lost. And we have lost games that coming into the year, we should have smoked some of these teams. Iowa State, Illinois, like they're great teams, don't get me wrong, but we should have won those games. And so,
with your traditional Mackey Arena advantage, absolutely.
Exactly. No, don't get me wrong. No one anticipated a freak 18-year-old 46-point game in Mackey against Illinois. But regardless, my bold take is with the rate we're going at, with the energy and the vibes that this team has right now, it'd be a miracle if this team gets past round of 32. That's even me saying that out loud. I know I'm a bit dramatic, but like that's kind of where my head's at.
Yeah, I mean anything can happen come March, and we'll see. I mean Purdue, I think I saw not that long ago they were projected to be a 2 seed, but after losing to Michigan State and now losing to Ohio State, yeah. I mean they could, depending on what happens the rest of the year, they could make a serious slide down. All of a sudden go from playing, some 14, 15 seed to, you get to maybe more like if Purdue falls to more like a 4 or 5 seed playing a 12 seed or something like that, maybe. That's a historically common upset. Or you're playing a higher seed team in the next round than 2 usually. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't write Purdue off for making it to the second weekend, but this definitely just shows, though, the preseason expectations that the media put on Purdue were just not validated.
Really,
unfortunately, but
inflated, one would say.
We'll see if Matt Painter. We talked about this before the podcast too. I'm hoping to see some life injected to them come Big Ten tournament. Finish regular season, get a reset, and then just play like they're possessed after that. And I can see that happening. I can see this team and really making a run, but it's going to take a serious mindset shift and get some confidence back.
I'm hoping they can catch a break between the Big Ten tournament, or like between now and the Big Ten tournament, and then again for March. But anyway, let's move on to our next segment, folks. It's arguably my favorite segment because I love numbers and I love geeking out about random stuff. It's Junior's Jumbo Stat, folks. So, Junior, what's the number this week?
Number is 341. And that is the number of teams that are currently still eligible to make the NCAA tournament. Now, this does bake in an assumption. Technically, a team could get an at-large bid. However, there have been several teams, though, in the modern era of super conferences that Nick and I love so much.
So much.
You got ACC with, 15 teams, I think? Big Ten with 18 teams. A lot of these conferences will have their conference tournament set up such that not every team makes a tournament. And so, which I think is terrible for the record. I love that no matter what happens throughout the season, you can prove yourself and get hot at the right time, make a run in your conference tournament, and punch yourself a bid to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
However, that's already been eliminated as an opportunity for a handful of teams here. Georgia Tech is the only major conference team as of this recording to have been eliminated from that conversation. So rest in peace to the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, rest in
Let's
peace.
see if they can bounce back next year, maybe. But we'll have more teams getting bounced here soon. I am a big fan. I want to shout out the Big Ten. Big Ten last year had a format where, I believe some teams didn't make it. They did change it so this year every team does have a chance to play in the Big Ten tournament. Which, I mean, I think you got to consider here the odds of a team that wouldn't make the tournament winning it all is so unlikely that if they were somehow able to win it all, I feel like it's like they've earned it then to get that big.
True.
That's my take. I think that's a
I'm
beautiful part of
waiting.
March.
I'm waiting for the day something like that happens. I'm waiting. I want to see that in my
Yeah,
lifetime. It's
yeah.
it's statistically almost impossible, but
Mm-hmm.
still.
Because you're
Um,
also getting the fatigue at that point too, right? The Big
yeah,
Ten tournament I think starts on a Tuesday maybe, and it
yeah,
finishes on a Sunday, and you're playing every single day. So that's the thing. I guess you could look at it from like a player health and safety perspective too. You don't want to play them for 5-6 days straight, but I'm sure want to have the chance that the seniors on those teams want to have a chance to extend their seasons. So I am a fan of having those tournaments include all the teams. Bummer the ACC does not. Shout out to the Big Ten for changing it so they do have that.
always. I didn't know Georgia Tech was that bad at basketball. I had no idea.
Yeah,
I had
it's
no. I
not
saw
the
this
fun
come
year.
out. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, obviously they're not like a program, like a crazy famous program or anything, but
Mhm.
like you think they'd be half decent. All right. Oh well. It's time to look into the future, folks. We're gonna step into our next segment here. We're gonna look into CBB preview for the upcoming week and some change maybe. Zach, you boy, kick us off, pal.
Well, Nick, I'm trying to figure out right now. You got number 4 NC State at number 2 Arizona.
Yeah,
However,
this is
NC
wrong.
State is in fact
This is
an
wrong.
ACC school.
I think I might have got my Big 12 matchups mixed up here.
Hey, that's all good. It's Iowa State. There we go. Iowa
That's
State.
right.
Understandable error. That's all good. Anyways, though, yeah, we got the Cyclones who just came off a pretty big loss, like we talked about, playing at number 2 Arizona in Tucson. This is huge, obviously. We'll see if Iowa State can bounce back after losing to Texas Tech. Obviously that was a pretty bummer home
Yeah.
loss. Obviously, Arizona looks like a buzzsaw right now, and like nobody can touch them. We will see if our favorite player from the Big 12, Mommy,
Love that.
is
I love that
able
guy.
to keep his 17.4 points per game in the last 5, or in his season average going in this top 5 matchup. I think this will be a great game. I do think Arizona is going to win this one. I think they'll be challenged a bit, but not too much. I think Arizona's just that good, but Iowa State is also a good squad, so they could give them a run for their money.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think this one's going to be a great matchup to watch. I think Arizona's going to clean up shop no matter what. But Iowa State is going to give them, like you said, a run for their money. Of all the teams that would actually give them a hard time, I think Iowa State would do that.
All right.
Sorry, folks. We had some technical difficulties there. My microphone decided to just crap out on us. So we're going to pretend like nothing happened. And if the audio is a little wonky for the rest of the episode, I do apologize. But let's talk Boilers, folks. Let's talk Boilers for the next coming week. We got number 8 as of right now, Purdue at Northwestern in Evanston. Purdue's looking for its first win in 3 games. My only comment really is this team is so burnt out. This team looks so like defeated, and it's pretty evident that we really need some like consistent point generation coming from the big guys. I'm looking at 2 guys particularly. I'm looking at 2 dudes, Oscar Clough and Daniel Jacobson. All right, like TKR is doing all that he can in the paint. All right, but we need other guys to when he's on the court to back him up. All right. Also, we just need points in general. I've been seeing a little bit of sparks from Oscar Clough the last couple of games here. I'm hoping that's consistent, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, go Boilers. Going to be an interesting one on the road up at Evanston this next week.
Yeah, Northwestern, aka this year the Fighting Nick Martinellis, the elite guard slash forward there in Evanston, was leading the Big Ten in scoring per game. I believe at one point. I don't know if he still is there or not, but lighting it up on a regular basis, averaging over 20 points per game. He's going to be the main guy you're wanting to stop there, and I think this will be a good opportunity for Purdue to get a nice road win here as we wrap up conference play.
Yeah, I agree. Should be a good one. Yeah.
Moving on then to my Spartans. We got a rematch of earlier this season. We got Rutgers playing at Michigan State. Earlier this season, Michigan State played at the Rack in New Jersey, in Piscataway, and Rutgers led for a lot of that game, looked in control for a lot of that game. Rutgers was even, I think they led most of the regulation. Michigan State, though, clawed back at the very end, was able to tie it at the end of regulation, and then just buzzsaw Rutgers in overtime then. So MSU did come away with a victory then. I expect something, maybe not similar, but I'm expecting a similar final result, though, of the Michigan State victory, with this one being in the Breslin Center. And one final note is this is Steve Pikiell's farewell week 2 from Rutgers. It has not been announced yet, I don't believe. However, I can't imagine this man keeps his job after his coaching the past couple of years. This team has been pretty rough. The fact that he had 2 top 5, or I guess Ace Bailey didn't end up going top 5, but that's just because he's a bum, personality-wise. But, 2 top 5 recruits, though, at least, and wasn't even able to make the tournament with them. What are you doing, man? You got to do something with that talent.
Yeah.
So I fully expect that he will be getting fired upon the conclusion of this season.
Yeah.
So, and then for the other Michigan State matchup this week, they're rolling into Ann Arbor to play at Michigan. Yeah. We'll see how this one goes. Based off of the result in East Lansing, I don't expect it to go too great, although we could have an Izzo Beeline match, kind of not sweep, but kind of historic thing. They often would trade wins at each other's home arenas sometimes, so we'll see if that occurs this year with Dusty May. I will say Michigan was dominating Michigan State in the first half in that first matchup. However, Michigan State did come back and had the lead in the second half, but then Michigan had more gas in the tank than the Spartans at that point, was able to pull away then there to get the victory. So Michigan State did make it, competitive at one point, did have the lead. If they could just not be cold shooting from the start, which they've been a lot better at 3-point shooting recently. Kurt Tang lit it up. I think went like 6 for 8 from 3 in their matchup today against IU. Jordan Scott's really stepping into his role. Jackson Kohler's coming back to life. This team is playing a lot better offensively, might be able to not fall back as far behind and maybe get a bigger lead and possibly pull off the road upset. That'd be a nice way to finish the regular season for them.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun matchup, dude, in Ann Arbor. As an outside viewer, this one's always a fun one for me, either football or basketball. And so I will never in a million years root for Michigan in this game. And I'm going to be rooting for the green, but we'll see, man. I'm hoping for an upset here. I think Michigan State on their best day has the potential, but man, this Michigan team is scary, as we've talked about.
Absolutely, yeah.
My last game I'm covering for preview for next week, guys, is a little bit unusual for me because I've not done much talking about this team, but they've been exciting me the last couple of weeks. It's the number 21 Miami of Ohio Redhawks, and they're playing at Ohio. They are 29-0 as of recording this podcast, and they are on the verge of hitting 30 wins undefeated, all right? 30-0 is on the line for the Redhawks. I really just, all I'm going to say is, can Miami pull off what nobody saw coming this year? One thing I will note, they're ranked finally, which is awesome. They should have been ranked weeks ago, all right?
They've been
but here we are.
For a few weeks. They've just been moving up, though. Yeah.
Good. Yes, good. I could see it. I kind of want them to see if they can go undefeated in the regular season. That'd be incredible. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be very cool. Obviously, you can't get a for sure automatic bid unless you win your conference tournament. However, I think if Miami closes the regular season undefeated, that means they're going to have maximum 1 loss on the year. I think you got to put them in no matter what. To have a team do that well, I know the MAC isn't the greatest basketball conference in the world, but I think you got to reward that. It's a great story, too, from the committee perspective. I think they deserve to be in over some of these bubble teams that we're looking at that have, conference records that are under 500. I don't need to see, Indiana in March Madness. I want to see the undefeated regular season Miami Redhawks. So we'll see.
Agree.
They might end up winning their conference tournament as well. They probably will end up winning their conference tournament, in which case they'll have the automatic bid, and it won't matter. However, in that case, too, I'm curious what seed they'll get. You have a team go the entire season up until that point undefeated. You got to be looking at a fairly high seed. I don't think they'll crack a top 4 seed, but maybe the 5 line.
I could see it.
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
think
We'll
they're
see.
worthy of a 5. I think they're worthy of a
Hmm.
5. They played
Yeah,
some good basketball. But yeah.
we'll see. And then yeah, our final one is an SEC matchup between a couple squads that are having kind of interesting close of the season. That's number 25 Vanderbilt, and number 22 Tennessee. Vanderbilt just lost to Kentucky this past week, and so they'll be likely dropping out of the rankings. And Tennessee took a loss to Alabama, I believe, as well, if I recall correctly. Um, and they might have won that one. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, we'll see. Tennessee is expected to win this one. This is going to be a big game, though, for both these teams in terms of getting a nice win in before the end of the season for seeding implications. And we'll see if Vanderbilt is able to have a good finish to March this year, or a good run in March this year. Um, they've been kind of a surprise this season in the SEC, and it'll be
Yeah.
kind of interesting to see what they're able to do.
Yeah, I think they're a semi decent threat. I could see them being like a Sweet 16 bounce, but yeah, I don't think they're gonna make a super deep run this year. If I'm being honest with you, that's just my 2 cents on the matter.
Yeah, they definitely could see them getting an early upset, but they've been winning games though, so we'll see.
We'll see, man. It's been a good one. I'm excited for March. We'll see how things come out.
Yes, we are finally here. It is upon us. Just wrapping up that regular season, and it's gonna be great. Nick and I were talking about
Yeah.
this before we recorded the podcast. Too. I guess a little bit before or during the podcast too. But we're gonna be in Montana with some friends skiing, and it'll be coinciding with the first 2 rounds of the tournament. So we're very excited to be watching some basketball while we're up there.
God bless. God bless Montana every year.
Absolutely. So, anyways, yeah, that concludes our episode for this week. So, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Make sure, as always, to like and subscribe on the YouTube and Spotify, rate, review, follow, all that jazz. As well as if you got any questions or comments, make sure you drop them on the video or email them to us at officialboomerandjunior@gmail.com. And follow us on our social media. We got that Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Facebook at Boomer and Junior on all platforms. And yeah, thanks for listening.
So we do. Bye, everybody. Happy March.